shower curtain and do that.
Exactly. Exactly. Everybody, hi. How are you?
Hello.
Oh, it is me, Jennifer from Little Metal Foxes again, and I have got my friends with me today. I have Helen, live from
Hello.
there she is, and Julia, also from Little Metal Foxes. Hello, hi everybody. So I was teaching a soldering workshop this weekend, and over there at the solder bench, and I was reminded, and one of the tips that I was sharing with the class was something that a friend of mine reminded me of recently, and that is these little guys, which are the
Ah.
little plant pots, and these are about 2.5 inches around, terracotta, very thin and light. And these guys work great to set your solder in because and I have them marked easy on two sides and medium.
Nice.
It's easy to see them, but they're very low profile, really shallow, fireproof, melt proof, and I can easily, if I'm working with one or another of them, I can set them, on the corner of my solder bench, and they're not taking up a lot of room, and I'm not going to melt them. The nice thing too is that if I'm using a brush to place my solder or using a solder pick, I can use this to pick up the pieces, hot or cold. And I've even got a little bit of a little flux on the edge of that. So just using like a wet brush, I can like pick up a little flux, grab my piece, and stick it where it needs to go. Because normally what I'll end up doing is just sticking it on my solder pad where it gets lost. And or when I'm done, I forget what I used, or it gets brushed off the surface accidentally or falls off the surface accidentally. So that doesn't work very well. And I know a lot of people do that. And
Oh yeah.
there's a solution. There's help for you and me. But another friend of ours does this, which I think is really cool. She'll usually put like easy, medium, and hard on her corners, like draw it on there with a Sharpie. And then
I think that's super smart.
she'll set her solder in there while she's working, and that way she can keep them separated and know which one's which. So if you're using little bits of wire or little bits of solder, you've got them separated to their corners. You could even dig a little, a divot in the corner so they sit in there if you need them to and not roll away. And this works okay, but again, I'm gonna and solder goes everywhere. So this is my
board to move it and dump the piece into the pickle or into the quench bowl. All of the bits of solder go flying too.
Or later on, I set something over there, and then all the pieces get knocked off. But when I'm storing it, I usually keep it in these little guys, which are spice containers. And these have I have a magnetic board that
nice
stick to. So I have I really like having little spice containers to store everything in. Got, because I've got gold solder and like that's my, 10 karat easy. So I've got, different solders I can keep in the spice containers up and out of the way and keep these kind of on my solder pad as a working tool rather than a storage thing. So what do you do? What do you guys do?
I hunt for solder pieces all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was Karen Christians from Metalworks at one point published a list of like the melt and flow temperatures of a whole bunch of different solders because she actually did this whole experiment with how well they flowed and melted, and she like made notes on like this one's kind of mushy and this one doesn't move really well, and she figured out the one she liked best. And so I ended up with three different solder from three different locations. So this is Fry and Burrell, Rio Grande, and Hoover and Strong. And because they all have different temperatures where they flow and melt, right? I put that information on there. And these are just bead jars. So these like the screw together, you get a package of them that usually comes with like 5 jars and 2 lids or something.
Yeah.
So
the only problem is that they're flammable and
They're plastic. I have not yet melted them because I keep them between me and the torch. But you asked how I do it, and so I also have these little, they're the lids from watchmakers
That's,
part
yeah.
bins, and I mark them on the edge with what it is. This one says hard, Rio hard, and then there's a little bit of flux in there and the leftover pieces of the solder. So the flux dries out, and I just have a eyedropper on my bench, and I put a little bit of water in there, and then
Oh,
my so that is a great way to store the extra leftover bits. I always know which one it is because it's marked on here what it is. And then this is the sheet and the wire. You know, when I cut more, I cut them into here because I always want my solder to be fluxed. I saw you had flux on the edge of yours because and I was just going through this because I'm teaching a beginning class. It's like, no, the solder has to be flexed too, because otherwise it just tarnishes and then it becomes like a marshmallow, right? Like it has that crispy outside part and that will never melt, right? Only the molten core of the marshmallow will melt. And then students are like heating and heating and heating, trying to make the carbonized outside of the marshmallow melt, and that will never happen.
I love that you use the Sharpie to mark your sheet solder too, because that
Mhm.
when
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned that way back when I
yeah,
first took uh things in college.
Yeah, so easy is blue because it's the coolest. Red is the hard because it's the hottest. And then I just defaulted to black for the medium. Now, I think I may have learned that from Charles Luton Brain. Shout out to another person who's really good at, lots of good tool tips.
oh,
In addition to keeping track of which solder is which, it helps keep your solder clean. So if you're buying solder in sheet, paint both sides completely with the stuff and then store it because it helps. Then when you cut it, the Sharpie burns off, but the metal's clean underneath. So,
yeah,
but I will add one more piece because one of the other things I learned about solder from you is that I always run my sheet through the rolling mill and make it thinner because then you have a bigger surface area. You can sort of see it better and you can place it more easily and you can get hold of it with your tweezers. So
yeah.
roll it through the rolling mill first and then paint the Sharpie on it. Because if you roll it through the rolling mill after you have the Sharpie on it, it stretches the Sharpie out. And then it's lighter. It's all attenuated.
Well, the thing is that you're using, so if you're cutting, you mill it out and it suddenly you've got like 2 or 3 times the length in the sheet. And as you're cutting it down, it's about a half to a third its regular thickness. So you're really reducing the amount of cleanup you're going to have to do afterwards because
Right, because you're using less solder, exactly.
right.
Plus, it's easier to cut because it's a thinner sheet. So,
So yeah,
yeah.
I mine with like just regular little um little sewing.
Cheers. Yeah, I like my Joyce Chen. I'm a big fan of Joyce Chen. I don't have mine here because I have them in my solder kit. But yeah, Joyce Chen shears I love because they have the big handles and they're perfect for cutting solder. Um,
So
solder sheet, not solder wire.
geez. So yeah, so I mean you could do the same thing on wire. You'd have to like pull it through the magic marker though, I think, to get it to
Yeah, I've never tried doing it with the wire. Usually with the wire, I'll just rub it with a scrubby with one of the maroon 3M pads and to clean off the end of the wire.
yeah, that's
If it
smart.
gets down really short, I'll just clip it all into a bunch of little pieces and put it in with some flux in my little
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
bin.
Well, cool. All right. Helen,
Yep.
what are you doing? You said just looking for scattered pieces.
Yes, but I will say that I did recently use my Lion Punch Forge, the project trays, to
Mm-hmm.
um, put some solder chips in. I was doing a really quick little solder thing, and I was like, "Oh, that's very nice." And but yes, you have to be very careful with the hot pick and or the direct flame because that's just PLA that's 3D printed, so it will melt very easily.
Yeah. No, I don't put a
Yeah,
hot pick
no,
or
it's not a
tweezers or
normal
hot.
occurrence for me. Usually, actually, because I have one of the spinny pumice trays, and I have that set on a 12 by 12 floor tile, and so I'll usually put the chips that I'm using on the tile,
Nice.
and
Okay.
then do that. so that I've got only what I need right there as I'm working.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and speaking of tile,
yeah,
these are more of an arts, like glazed painting little tray,
palette. Yeah.
a little painting palette, great for like watercolors and things like that. I use this for enameling, mixing my enamels in here if I'm doing like liquid enamels. I also use it for like small parts. If I'm doing like stone settings, I have like my settings, and then my stones, and then the little parts that I'm going to be using. So if I'm doing a little production run, this can be really helpful. I used to use it for my solder, but it's so slick. It's hard to pick up the pieces with tweezers because they slip around. And one of our uh, friends on our
Instagram.
Instagram. Who is it?
KDM Artisan
Yes,
or KMD Artisan.
ND Artisan was saying that they'll use little stacking ones like this that are glazed, but what they'll do is take a little bit of a diamond pad and scrub the bottom so it's not quite as slippery. And that way they still have a little bit of that glaze in there. It keeps it nice and clean. They can still see it really easily, but it's not as slippery. And that makes it really work well. So one of the nice things about this is that it's not slippery and I can pick it up. I can use my brush. I can use my solder pick, hot, cold, doesn't matter. And this is kind of nice because it wicks away excess moisture really quickly. So it allows me to pick up the pieces really nicely. So anyway, but these are like 25 cents. So they're not expensive
Yeah.
to have on your bench. And yeah, so there you go. There's my tool tip for the day.
Yay.
Good one. The good tip. If you don't already have a system, this is a good system.
Ah,
If you've got a system that's working,
maybe
you know,
if you have a system as well, and if it's not working, there are options.
there are options. Right, right. Like if you're finding that you're melting your thing, if it's plastic or something, like, hey, guess what? I've used the little sauce dishes for like Japanese
Oh yeah,
food
yeah.
that are glazed. They're relatively inexpensive. And I use those for putting granulation granules in a lot because, it's really easy to stack them. But you're right, they're super slippery. So I like the terracotta idea.
Yeah,
So, and I like your ceramic paint palette. I have a plastic one that has rounded depressions in it. So it's not as good, the one that's flat on the bottom is actually better for seeing all the stuff that's in there.
yeah.
Whereas mine, everything's gonna, fall down into because they're like a little egg cups, right? Because they're
Oh, oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, no, I like these because they are kind of dipped,
Mhm.
And I know a couple of instructors that use these as their on the solder bench for the students. So they can put in, easy, medium, hard, and a couple of people can share them. Mystery, solder ends up in the metal or in the middle of this, but it's like,
What
anyway,
kind is it?
yeah, but that gives you some options for setting up your
There
solder
you go.
in a way that's safe and not flammable. So there you go. All right,
Right.
Peter,
And not wasteful.
not wasteful. So there you go. I hope you like this. I thank you for watching. We have quite a lot of useful tool tips that we've been doing. We've got about over 200 now, you guys. So
Yay.
um,
We've been doing it for quite a while, so we
yeah,
should have a lot.
we're so good at it. Um, so if you have a solution that you've been doing in your own studio, please put it in the comments below and share it because we like to kind of share those ideas and spread the word. And make sure you hit the like button. Are you hitting the like button now? Is that what you're doing? Are you over there? There you go. And yeah, just press that like button. There you go. Boink. Press the like button. And be sure to subscribe. That way you know when we're live. You'll get a notification to join us and ask us questions as we're live. Do we have any questions today, Helen, over in the...
Nope.
No questions. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us out there, you guys, and watch some of the other ones. We got a whole bunch of them. So if you have questions on any kind of tips and tools and interviews and all kinds of stuff, we've got some great ones out there. So thanks a lot, ladies, and we'll see you next week on Tool Tip Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.
I'm trying to stop my live stream.